The next Lee and Ian podcast is approaching the station. Please step aside.
And welcome to the Lee and Ian Show. I'm Lee Navlin.
And I'm Ian Grodman.
The Lee and Ian Show is sponsored by Grodman Law and Mediation. Remember, when it comes to divorce, family first. Mediation is the way to go. Grodman Law and Mediation. So, Ian, you know, it's September, and in SOMA,
It's election time.
it's election time, and you
School
start
board.
to see, right. You start to see the lawn signs.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lawn sign
All over the place.
I'm driving.
I've got 4 in my lawn right now.
You got 4 on your lawn right now? Well,
4.
I'm driving here and I'm seeing them all over the place, and I am seeing Malini, Nayar signs, Stephan signs, and Meredith Higgins signs.
Yes, you are.
They're actually all on one sign. They're running together.
They're running
for the Board
together
of
as a
Ed.
team for the school board.
Right, so I'm driving, and I see a woman, and she's standing outside enjoying this beautiful weather, and she's looking at her lawn sign. She's looking at the lawn sign that she has for the candidates.
Uh-huh.
And I said, hey, I'm Lee from the Lee and Ian Show. And so she says, I've never heard of you before.
Who the hell are you?
Exactly right. So she didn't know who I was. So I said, well, anyway, it's a podcast. I explain what we're doing. And then I go, guess who's going to be on our show later? She goes, Jimmy Kimmel. Anyway, yeah.
That was yesterday.
That was, yeah. So I said, no, not Jimmy Kimmel. I said, guess again. And she got the answer correctly. So,
Wow, very cool.
So anyway-
So we've got one person who's going to listen already.
we have more than one person that's going to
Yes.
listen because we have 3 people right now in the studio with us that are
Yes,
listening
we
to this
do.
nonsense.
That's true. We're up to 4.
That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Malini, Nayar, Stephan, and Meredith Higgins. They are ready for the Board of Ed. Thanks, everybody, for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
of course.
you.
Thank you for
Welcome.
having us.
Thank you. And it's a good-looking sign, isn't it?
It's a great sign. Yes, it is. It caught my eye.
Beautiful sign.
Beautiful sign. I was driving probably faster than I should. I apologize. I was running late to get here. And so anyway, Nancy Adams, you're listening.
No more than 5 miles an hour.
That's
is this
right,
speed
but
limit,
I saw the signs, and there are quite a few of them, by the way. You know, so you guys are really doing a good job right now, getting the name out and getting the message out. And thanks for coming in. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit about what you guys want to do once you're elected to the Board of Ed. So
Sounds good.
So I guess what do we? By the way, Ian, we've never really had 3 people in the studio before.
No.
So this is going to
a
be a little
small studio. These people are being very good to us. They're
Right,
being
they're-
squeezed into our little
cozy.
podcast studio. It's
That's-
cozy.
It's cozy.
Thank you.
That's right. It's cozy. So so I guess we'll just throw out some questions and we'll just kind of take it from there. So Malini, well, why don't you tell us? This is actually to the 3 of you. How did the 3 of you meet, and how did you guys decide to join? Become a slate. Talk a little bit about that. I guess that's the question for each and all of you.
Oh, yeah.
Well-
Go ahead. Who's it? Yeah.
I can start, and others can pick up. So,
And that would be Stephan, obviously. ladies and
yes,
gentlemen.
hello. So people may know I ran last year unsuccessfully, and last year there were 7 candidates running. There was a group of 3, and then myself, and somebody on Facebook called me Lonely Paul Stephan at some point, which I still I love it. But and part of running independently is you want to try to get on the board and work with everybody. Our board's been a little divided in the past, and so I was hoping to get elected and sort of reach across the aisle and work with everybody. Obviously, I was not successful, and the reality is you need. It helps a lot to have 3 people running, just mathematically. And so got connected with Malini and Meredith, who I think, as we started talking over the summer, really, I felt like we saw eye to eye on a lot of things, but also complemented each other in good ways. They can talk about it, but Meredith's got a lot of pre-K experience. I'm sure we'll talk about. Malini's a high school parent, and actually the only high school parent running. So I'm really excited to be with them, and they're I just think they're tremendous.
Shucks.
Yeah, you guys feel the same way. I mean, basically, it's been a good camaraderie, and you guys met and you said, okay, you had a coffee or whatnot, and you just said, this is it, this is the team.
It was kind of funny because I was actually on vacation in Michigan. We've got family out there, and we take 2 weeks every summer to just relax and decompress and sort of pull ourselves out of our bubble life. And we had a call, one with Paul, and Paul and I were chatting, and we were like, you're a music teacher? You're a music teacher? We just instantly found a lot of these things in common. And we were talking about our experiences and living in SOMA. And wasn't it also Lawrenceville or Lawrence Township?
Yes.
Yeah, so we just had a lot in common. So it naturally felt very that camaraderie popped in pretty quick. Malini I actually met, was it 2 years ago, I think now? I teach a program called Bolly X, the Bollywood Workout. Surprise, surprise. And it's one of my favorite things to teach. And she came to one of my classes and said, I want you to come and actually present this and talk about Bollywood fitness and Diwali and Holi with my business. And so I did a whole presentation for them. And so her and I already had a bond. So when the three of us kind of got on this call, we were like, gosh, this just feels like so natural and so true to SOMA too, of like how some of the connections come together. And I don't know, I talk to you guys more than I talk to my husband sometimes now. We're like kind of buddies. So
that's how I see when you walked in and the three of you, we were chatting outside. You guys seem more like friends almost. You know, like friends that have a singular mission right now.
Yes.
You know, so.
Yeah, and I will say I got connected with both of them over the summer, reconnected with Meredith over the summer. And for me, I personally am at a point in life where I really want to give back more than what I'm doing for my job. My job where I work is a mission-driven organization. So I feel pretty good about what I do, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But I want to just do more. I have kids who are in high school. I have a little more time on my hands. I have a lot of expertise in budgeting and using public money to do things for public good. So I want to kind of bring that to the table. And I also want to set a good example for my kids in terms of what community, engagement looks like, and bringing good governance to a board and asking good questions and working with people and making good compromises. And so I do a lot of that in my daily job. And so I thought this would be a good way to give back to my community. I've lived here for 13 years and, I feel part of it.
Sure.
So I feel like this would be an amazing thing to do. And, we bring different things to the table, given our backgrounds, given our stages in life. And I think that's been the best part of working on this slate. We ask a lot of questions of each other. We do research. We share the research. Then we ask more questions. And sometimes we don't necessarily fully agree, and we'll say, okay, tell me more, let me understand, what do you think are the concerns, or why do you feel this way? And so that, I think we want to, all three of us kind of want to bring that to the board, and that is why our slate is called Listen, Learn, and Lead.
That's great.
Wonderful.
I love that because, we do have our school board here in Maplewood and South Orange has a reputation for not people always getting along really well, and hearing the three of you talk about that. And I know Paul before today, and I, when Paul ran last year, I thought, Paul will be a great person to be on the board in terms of being able to bring people together with differing viewpoints. But hearing that you guys have already had disagreements among yourselves, but you've still found a way to work for this common good, right? This common goal that you have. That's fantastic.
Well, I do remember last year, Paul, when you ran, it's a true story. I said to Ian, I go, well, who do you like? And Ian will never tell you who he doesn't like. He's just not that type of guy. But he goes, oh, I'm not going to tell you I don't like, but I'll tell you I like. I go, that who? He goes, Paul Stephan. So that's a true story from last year. So, and Paul, talking about yourself, Paul, you're an attorney, but you were a school teacher too. I mean, so that seems like you just have outstanding credentials for this type of job. Basically, you feel for the. You understand what the students' needs are, but then again, you understand the needs of the community. I guess thinking as a lawyer might talk a little bit about your background. What made you want to dip your toe back into the pool again for round two and so forth?
Yeah. So I was a teacher. In fact, that was I taught in Newark and in Orange. I taught first grade, and I taught K-7 music. Living in the Ironbound in Newark at the time. That's actually how I met my wife, who is also a teacher.
I'm going to interrupt you, Paul, because I think you need to tell people what the program was that led you to being a teacher, too. I think is really important.
Yeah, so I was in Teach for America. So my undergraduate major was not in education. It was in urban and public policy studies. I went to SUNY Buffalo for that. And, I think the teaching experience is helpful because we need board members who understand and appreciate just how tough a job it is. I'm a lawyer now, and I have to say, being a lawyer is such a much easier job. Teaching is by far the hardest job I've ever had, for sure, and maybe the hardest job, or if not one of the hardest jobs that people could have. So I bring up the teaching experience not to suggest that I know everything. I certainly don't. But it's important, I think, for people to understand it's a tough job. It's we have amazing educators in this district. About I think over half of whom have master's degrees. They're really dedicated. They work for, frankly, not enough pay and with not enough support. And I think one of the most important things that a board can do is try to make sure that teachers have the tools and the materials and things that they need to really excel.
No, I agree with you 100%. A couple of years ago, when the pandemic was kind of winding down a little bit, my wife and I were both working remotely out of the house, and we were about ready to kill each other. And she said, one of us has got to get out. So I took a year off from what I was basically doing, and I did some para work. I was a paraprofessional, actually, for a year. And it was almost like a fly on the wall type of thing. I did it at Marshall School. By the way, shout out to the Marshall Owls. Great staff, great people. But man, oh man, I would come home from that job. And I didn't know what tired was. I didn't know what tired was, until you spend a day with second graders, and then you got to do it again, and then again, and then again. Yep.
We actually went to that Board of Education meeting where the paras were there, and I got there early. I wanted to be there at 6:30 so I could actually talk to a couple of them, and it was very interesting hearing their stories and very eye-opening of, they are dedicated to one, I don't know all the inner workings, but they are dedicated to one, maybe two kids at the time, but they help every child. So if they get asked for help, they're not just going to say no. So they're not just taking care of that one kid.
Right.
They're taking care of as many kids as they can. So they're actually doing way more than what I think everybody expects. And in the moment, all you want to do is take care of the kids. All you want to do is answer that question or guide them on that moment so that they can feel successful and move to the next thing that they're supposed to do in the classroom. So paraprofessionals are crucial to our classrooms. They need to be in the classrooms. They need to be valued. And I think our district should really shed a light on that one.
Yeah, I agree. Well, the staff actually called me Uncle Lee because I was the guys always, the teachers, kids would go to me, can I have this? Can I have that? Yeah, sure. Yeah, what do you, hey, so you got to start saying no occasionally to these kids, It took me a while where I got strong enough with these second graders where I could say, go back to your seat. Yeah, no talking. But anyway.
I think that's a really important point, Meredith, because I was in the school district from 2003 as a parent, from 2003 to 2023. So 20 years in the school district. One of my children had an IEP. And I can tell you that those special education teachers, the paraprofessionals who work in these classrooms, they don't just work with the children who have IEPs. They work with everybody in the classroom. Right. And every classroom that has that additional professional in the class is incredibly lucky to have that. So,
yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Now, Meredith, question for you. You might have some problem. You may have a problem here. You grew up in Dallas. So
yes.
What do you have to say to these Giants fans that are no way in the world they're going to vote for a Cowboys fan? So where do you stand in that?
Sorry, but I don't actually know what you're talking about. I am not. That's not my level. That's not my interest.
Okay. So no football. So Giants fans. Okay.
But I will say I am loyal to my husband in that he grew up in Wisconsin. So we are Wisconsin and Green Bay. And I actually went to the stakeholders meeting on our honeymoon. I did that for my husband.
Green Bay
we went to the
Packers
stakeholders meeting. I sat through it and I was fascinated by how it worked.
Because it's publicly owned.
It is
the Packers,
so fascinating.
It's owned by
yes. That to me was like, this is community. Like community is the lifeblood of Green Bay.
Yeah.
It is so cool. And the way that it's structured and the way that they communicate with everybody, I was like, my mind is blown and I'm going to take that everywhere I can.
Now, Meredith, you you began when your daughter enrolled at the SOMA pre-K program. That's where your engagement with the district kind of began. You volunteered to serve on Early Childhood Advisory Council, and then you were appointed as a parent representative advocating for pre-K parents.
It's a mouthful. You got it.
That seems to me like, what are we looking for in a Board of Ed member? That's what we're looking for with a Board of Ed member, someone with that background. So talk about how did that kind of prepare you for this moment?
I appreciate that. And I would actually say my involvement, put quotes around that, with the district was the moment we moved here. I mean, it's impossible to not see what's going on in the district the moment you move into the two towns. I really had to work hard to meet people and get to know the community because we knew no one when we moved here. So I planted myself everywhere I possibly could. I went into this coffee chat. I went to a knitting group, and I don't even knit. I joined all the Facebook groups. I did everything I could to connect with people so that when my child was eligible to be in the lottery for pre-K, I did not want to go in there saying, I don't know anybody. I wanted to go in there saying, oh, I saw you at this. Oh, I connected with you here. Oh, I saw you at this. And that was true, which was really wonderful. Like I felt more at home walking into that classroom, and I feel like I could support my kid too and introduce her to kids. Does she remember everybody's names? No, but that's okay. She's 5. The Early Childhood Advisory Council, that popped up in my inbox, and I just thought, like, I want to, because I want to be involved in my child's development. Mm-hmm. And I also want to make sure that like every kid gets what they need in their developmental stages. That's super important for me. And I'm getting my master's in clinical mental health counseling. So that's going to be a really big hot button for me. I'm constantly going to be looking at, is this best for the mental health and the wellness of our kids? They're learning academics, but at the same time, are they learning how to be a good person? Are they learning how to be a citizen? Are they learning how to vote? Do they know how to actually look at all the things that they have to consider? It's a lot of information to digest, and you don't have to know everything, but it's really important, personally, to not be a single issue voter. I've done that before. I did that when I was 18. I just, I'm going to do this.
Right.
But you really can't do that. It's a very slippery slope. It's a very dangerous way to participate in government.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Malini, you touched on this just briefly, but you work for a nonprofit lender that finances affordable housing and community development projects. Talk about how that expertise is going to come in handy, with this job.
Sure. So this is what I've been doing for the last 20 years, working for mission-driven organizations that basically take private capital and invest it in underserved communities. And when I say underserved, I mean underserved by that private capital. So those neighborhoods are starved of investment. And so what we do as intermediaries is take the private capital and invest it for some good in these neighborhoods. That could mean anything from affordable housing to community charter schools, community health centers, and small business development. On a day-to-day basis, what I really do is I approve a lot of the investments that my company makes. And to approve an investment, you are really looking at who is this investment finally serving? Who's going to live in the housing that is developed? What are the community impacts of building this housing in this neighborhood? Does it serve the people we're trying to support? Does it have an environmental impact? Does it cause harm to the environment, or can we do something to make it better? Whether the people believe in climate change or not, we also want to make sure that the housing that we are building is climate resilient, given what's going on across the world. And finally, making sure that the budget works for all that we're trying to do. So we have resources which are private and public. The public resources comes with certain formulaic rules and requirements. The private capital also comes with its own belts and suspenders. And then we're really trying to make sure that that fits to the project that we're trying to finance. In a particular affordable housing project, you will have not unlimited revenue because you're not your renters are not market renters. They are certain area median income level renters. They are median income workforce housing. And so your revenue is limited. Your expenses are what they are. So a lot of what we do is try to understand and make it work. Make sure that our developers understand how to make that budget work and understand the constraints, understand where they can push and pull. And so I can bring that lens to the work of the board. I have served on the board of a charter school in Brooklyn between 2014 and 2019 when it was starting up. And I learned a lot about how state and federal monies can be used to fill your budget. Sure. And how to set a budget, and what does that look like based on the students' needs and the kind of school you're trying to run. I currently serve on a board of an organization in New York City called New York City Energy Efficiency Corporation, very similar to what I already do, which is, again, investing in energy infrastructure. I love numbers. Once I start, I can't stop. I've gone back and looked at the BOE, the district budget.
This will give you a lot of opportunity to look at
numbers. Yes, and it just excites
certain.
me. I mean, it's the strangest thing. My family's always like, this is what you're like excited to talk about because it's so like boring. But I love it, and I love finding the big themes within the budget. I really like going back and understanding why decisions were made the way they were made. Also, how do you make a budget that's so complicated accessible to families and the community, and make sure that they understand how decisions get made, because it is going to impact not just the kids who are in the district, but the taxpayers in this district as well. So that's kind of my excitement for this. Joining this board, if I can get
So
elected.
here's a question to throw out for the three of you. Ian, is that you coughing?
No, it's not me.
Okay. No, we're not going to tell you who was coughing, but any case.
Oh, wait, it was me. It wasn't one of our guests.
was not one of our guests.
That was Ian. It wasn't one of our guests.
We'll edit that out in
They're
post.
all 110% healthy.
That's right. Everyone's healthy here. Hey, okay. Here's a question for you. For the three of you, since the three of you, what are the three biggest challenges facing the district right now?
Let me start with where I ended, which was the budget. Our school budget, we've heard this expression, we're sort of at this fiscal cliff, we have these ongoing deficits. The fact of the matter is, and I'm going to quote from some of the stats that I have here, which is that our expenses have risen about over 60% over the last 10 years. And over the last 3 years, our expenses have gone up 10 to 20 to 30%. Our revenues are capped. Our revenues primarily come from taxes, and then we get some state aid. So in an environment where expenses are continuing to rise and revenues are kind of where they are, trying to figure out how to make the budget work is going to be more of a problem and more of a challenge. We are constantly, I think, trying to figure out how to do the best with the money we have for all the kids. But at this point in time, we have taken from reserves to fill certain holes in the budget. Our debt has increased from about 45 million 10 years ago to now 190 million. And our district, our community is paying for that. So really just, we have, I wouldn't want to call it a crisis, but we do have a problem that we need to solve, not just this year, but for the long-term future, and doing some long-term budget planning. So I think that is a big issue for this district.
Paul, so anything you can think of a big issue that's you're like, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to work on this one?
We obviously have a number of challenges. I think one large bucket that I've been thinking about is what I would call getting the basics right. And I can give you an example or two. Teachers need the class materials, the books, the workbooks before the school year starts so that they can begin their planning. And we've struggled a couple years in a row now to get teachers the books and the workbooks even as the school year starts, first couple weeks of school. I'm sure most people know that the transportation difficulties that we've had, not just this year, but many school years back, it's a sort of perennial issue, and people have run on fixing it. But, we still have a problem, obviously. And related, we have a lot of issues with special education, and getting the sort of basics of it, where kids' IEPs are not being followed, right? That's just not acceptable, and it's illegal, right? And so a lot of times in school board elections, there's a lot of painting with big brushes and big visions, and that's all important. But there's sort of basic things, blocking and tackling, that I think we can do that really move the ball in a meaningful way. And to Malini's point, a lot of this stuff is not super expensive, right? It can be done within the budget, but it's about connecting those things and providing the structures for our educators.
Kind of sometimes things just kind of fall under the radar or whatnot. If a kid is special needs, he's very quiet, he's not causing distractions in the classroom, maybe he goes a little unnoticed, and I think things like that, I would imagine. Meredith, anything that day one you're like, all right, guys, this is mine.
Thankfully, it's not the presidency, and there isn't like a day one. Like that pressure feels intense.
First 100 days.
I know. Honestly, I feel like we've already been doing the work, and that's how we've framed ourselves with the Listen, Learn, Lead. And it's like why I love these two people so much. Is that we make a great team. The balance between what we're bringing to the board, 9 people should have 9 different walks of life, 9 different experiences, 9 different expertise. No one should be an expert in anything that they become so laser focused. But my area is absolutely mental health, physical health, the arts and music. That is my lifeblood. It has been a part of my life, my entire life. How many times can I say life? I literally teach dance everywhere in these 2 towns. It is something that allows me to be exactly who I am 100% of the time. I am not someone who's great with words all the time. That's why, like, dancing after school kept me out of trouble. We just had a conversation with YouthNet, and it was tough because the thing that just happened recently, I don't have all the details, but someone who was young got drunk and I believe was driven away in an ambulance. And that's terrifying to think about.
Sure.
I don't have all the details, so I don't, I don't want to expand too much, but they were talking about that. And there was an officer on the YouthNet board meeting talking about that. He was like, I was shook because how is this happening? And so now you're talking about the ecosystem of parents and kids and teachers and what happens after the classroom. And the district is responsible for what happens inside the classroom. So what can we do when they're in the building to make sure that their life outside the building is not dangerous decisions, they're using critical thinking. I also really value the fact that I think I was 22 when the invite to Facebook popped up. So I was relatively an adult before social media. And we have children that have it well before. I don't think they understand. No, they don't understand what it is. And being able to decide what is safe to share, not to share, who are you sharing from, what are you participating in, that is extremely important. It's not, I don't want to get too laser focused on it, but again, going back to critical thinking skills. So curriculum and instruction is really important to me. Making sure that our guidance counselors have everything that they need and that they are not stretched too thin. And, I'm really proud of the district that they have filled almost every seat when it comes to staffing. But I think now we can look at that and say, okay, do you have what you need? Are you feeling like you can be efficient? What is missing? Now, truly, that's not actually the board's job. That is the district's job. But it's hard not to talk about the district because that's what the board does. The board guides the superintendent. And so I would be honored if I could be a part of that guidance and asking those critical thinking questions, because I think it's very easy to become tunnel vision on certain things. And then we do have those gaps. We have those holes and things fall apart.
Malini?
If I can add one more thing, I think, everyone that moves to Maplewood and South Orange, they're not just moving here because it's 40 minutes from New York City and that's the only convenience. We come here because it's a richly diverse community, and it's a community. It is not just a bunch of houses where people come home and sleep and go back to New York City. We see that in the small businesses that we have here. We see that in the way we engage with each other. We see that in the diversity of the population. And we want to make sure that our values are, steadfast in no matter what headwinds might come our way, as a community, as a board, we're able to kind of uphold our values that we collectively care about. So I think that's something the three of us really kind of espouse and want to bring forth as well.
100%. Yeah, and when you talk about community, I've joked around Ian before. When you run for office here, and Ian's familiar with this because he's been in office. He was vice mayor for many years, and there's a paparazzi here in Maplewood when you're in office. It's of course, you got the Lee and Ian show,
There we go.
You got the Village Green.
We're coming after you.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you do. You have but you also have these groups, these Facebook groups and whatnot, and they're very active. And as a matter of fact, I was looking on them earlier to see what's the vibe right now, and I'm not seeing like last year. The buses aren't operating. The III is not working. The teachers don't have a contract. The Sanchez stuff was still kind of up in the air.
That's true.
Things have kind of calmed down. Like the teachers have a contract now, I guess, which is great news. Sanchez, thankfully, he's back, where he belongs.
He's great at Columbia.
But being that you're a dance instructor, the arts must be very important to you. And I know that there have been some concerns about that here in SOMA. Anything, and that's not just for you, Meredith, but the arts. I know that parents are concerned that some of these programs that the money's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. When I first moved here, so my license is at the state of Indiana, and I was looking to get reciprocity so that I could either apply for music education jobs or be a sub. And it was very interesting in 2021, 2022, how many vacancies there were. And I was looking for my own employment, but it did make me realize, we have a high need here for making sure that when we get teachers that they stay and that there's consistency in every program, and that For me, the arts are core. It's something I've never personally questioned. So when someone asks me about the arts, it's so part of my nature that I will say I need to get more critical thinking about it. I actually need to look at all the policies and all the information that the district has and say, are we actually is my thinking part of this district's thinking? It's a really, really good thought to have. And so, yeah, that popped up in one of the groups, and I'm glad that question was asked. That's the kind of like approach that I will take to the board of ask me any question. No, I will not respond immediately sometimes. That needs to be okay too. I need to take a moment and think about it and do my own research because I shouldn't have every answer at the ready. Those people actually make me a little nervous because then it feels like they're too expert in everything.
Right.
When's the last time you actually learned something more?
Right.
So I am someone who is going to take a moment and respond, especially when it's related to a group decision. That's the other thing is I'm a person, but it's, we're a group.
Go ahead.
And the arts are really crucial to this community in particular. We are a very arts-forward district, and I think we're all really proud of that. We want to maintain that. And going back to something I think Meredith said earlier about single-issue voters, I think it's important to recognize with the arts, for example, how much it's connected to so many other things. When we talk about, classroom management, behavior issues, harassment, intimidation, bullying, the arts are often the only outlet for some kids, and that's something they really connect to in a way that they don't connect to with their academics. We talk about facilities. There are a lot of facilities needs, and one thing I will applaud the district on recently is that they invested in fixing the stages, right? And so we need to evaluate our facilities and see if they're up to the task. And the other pieces with the arts and with a lot of other things, we talked about community. There's a lot of these community organizations that fill the gap and provide funding and provide opportunities to kids, not just in the arts, but in all different kinds of areas. And that's one real strength of ours. A lot of districts do not have the kind of social and institutional groups to support things happening outside of the strict classroom school day.
Do you want to add something? Yep. And I'm just going to say, from my own personal experience, when you guys talk about like one-issue voters kill me.
That's
I'm the chair of the Democratic Party.
Right, that's the only thing I care about. Talking about one-issue voters, we got to mention it. Turf, okay? So I know, that's the one that just seems like you either are for it and you're going to beat up somebody if they're against it, or you're against it, you're going to beat up somebody. There seems to be no middle ground. What's our thoughts on the turf situation?
So, as a parent of a child who plays soccer, freshman soccer, from a parent standpoint, I know the pain that parents feel and the frustration they feel because the board has decided and voted 2 times on turfing Ritzer Field. And we are still at a place where that has not happened because of budget issues. Back when we did it prior to COVID, went to the BOSE for budget approval, and then COVID happened and we had to pivot. And in those years, the field hasn't been maintained to the best the way that it can be maintained, given that it's a grass field. The board has voted twice. The last the board approval was in July. We are not going to stand against that vote if we get voted on into this board. So that's a position that we're very clear on. Okay. If some new information, I'm expecting that there will be a discussion. Maybe it's just a revisit of what was presented earlier, or if it's some new information. As board members, the right thing for us to do is review that within the time frame we're given, ask our questions, and expeditiously move towards revoting for that.
Okay, so where does it stand right now? Because I lost a little bit, Paul. Are we looking? Is it looking like it's going to be greenlit?
So the board did, as Malini said, they voted and it was unanimous. It was 8-0 over the summer
for turf.
Okay. So and as as Malini pointed out, I don't. It's not wise from a governance standpoint to have board members coming in saying, "Well, now I'm gonna try to undo everything that I didn't like," and I actually think that it really disintegrates trust and it disintegrates the ability of administrators to do their job.
We see that going on nationally right now. So
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, I'm familiar with a different 9-member body that sits in DC that has people who come on and they just try to undo everything that came
That's
before.
it.
And
versus Wade.
that's toxic. And could I just hit on one other piece, because we're talking about divisive issues, single issue voters. Look, there's a lot of strong opinions in our town, and I'm actually very proud to say that our supporters include very pro-turf and very anti-turf people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's actually a strength that we have. We're not running to be ideological and single and kind of single, monomaniacal. And I think the people that support us on different sides of different issues, it's not so much that we agree on every single thing down the line. What it is, I think people trust that we are going to, again, listen, learn, and lead, and that they trust our judgment. They trust that they'll be respected and heard, and that we will work with everybody on the board to try to, arrive at the wisest decisions that we can.
That's great. Yeah. So hey, this is a team effort. The board. Yeah, we want to work with you. We're not gonna come in and start rewriting all the rules that we want. See, that's the type of. See, I ran for office years ago. Ian was actually the head of the Maplewood Democratic Committee. Yes. I ran, I lost, and Ian said he didn't think I'd be a team player. So that was...
I never said that. I said maybe you should contact the Republicans.
That's right, he did. Because we're no vacancies, I think, is what do you mean no vacancies? I'm running for anything. But that's how Ian and I became friends, actually, many years ago. I was running. I would come to him for advice. He would tell me, how to lose, and but he would give me the right advice.
No, I always give everybody.
I just ran against
whether I support them or not.
Ran against
I'm
a
happy to
really
help anybody.
I ran against a great candidate, Victor Lucas.
You did. You ran against Victor Lucas, so that was very courageous on your part.
That's right. So why don't we take a short break, Ian, and we'll come back. We want to get into the triple I, maybe talk a little bit about that, and anything else that
sounds good.
that we can think of
Let's
during
take
the
a
break.
break.
All right, so we'll
I'm
be
thirsty.
right back.
Mr. Griffin, your response? Maybe something about education?
Well, I have always cared deeply about young people. As a rich college-bound student, I once joined some underprivileged youths in saving a community center from being converted into a shopping mall.
Peter, that wasn't you. That was Adolfo Shabadoo and Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. You watched it last night?
And we're back, the Lee and Ian Show. Ian, we're back on the air.
We're back on the air?
We're back on the air.
wait a
Yes,
minute,
we
hold
are.
on.
Yes, we are. So everybody,
Let me get myself together.
That's right. Everyone's got your bathroom break. You got your drink break. We're all ready to roll.
I'm good.
So, guys, again, looking at some of the Facebook comments, and that's how I got a feel for kind of what's going on with the schools. Because all you got to do is read some of these groups. Now, the III, okay, which the Intentional Integration Initiative, it's entering its 5th year. I guess it's not perfect. There's been issues. Paul, maybe can you talk a little bit about what it is exactly, maybe, and where we are with it? Maybe, right, Ian?
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul probably did a better job of explaining it than I could.
He's good at that.
Yes.
So we have the Intentional Integration Initiative, as you note, it's in its 5th year. It is an attempt to make each school look like the district as a whole, socioeconomically, particularly, and racially as well. This is not our first rodeo in terms of integration. We've been doing different versions of it for a few decades now. And, I think it's an important part of who we are as a district. Something that Malini said is people come here not just because they want their kids to go to college and career. Of course they want that. But they also want to live in a diverse and inclusive community where kids are learning from and interacting with people who are different than them, right? So, integration is really important. And I think the question for us sort of going forward is, how do we preserve the goals of integration while making changes along the way that make things a little easier for folks and that, are around good process. So one of the things that I care about, and I think Malini and Meredith do too, is, there's been changes to Triple I since it started, right? And changes to integration, right? How do we make those changes? What are the principles by which we are evaluating whether they ought to be made? And then also the process, who goes through it? We have the Alves group. It's, I think it's Michael Alves, who's the outside, basically expert who runs the algorithm. And it's my view that if you're going to make changes to the Triple I, you talk to that group about it and see, well, what are the impacts going to be and what's it going to look like?
So the III, so my understanding, and just taking a little step further, is the idea was, okay, this school is going to have X amount of kids whose parents make $200,000 a year, X amount who make under $100,000 or under $50,000. You might 200 kids like that, and then the next school will have the same idea. So they're financially, you have rich kids, poor kids, medium range. I'm not poor kids, probably a bad thing to say, but you know what I'm saying. rich, medium, and high, medium, low, Ian, right?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm trying to
Different
say?
income levels, right? People of all
Income
different
levels, yes.
socioeconomic backgrounds and income levels.
Right. Yes, I apologize for the way I
That's okay.
described it, but basically,
You're excited.
And has that been? Does it exist now in SOMA? Is that how these schools are lined up right now? I mean, a question for anybody, you know?
Yeah. The initiative is based on an algorithm which basically, as you described, has multiple tiers of families of different socioeconomic levels. And the idea is to kind of have equal representation across each of the schools, elementary and middle. And so that is how it is working, to answer your question.
Now, the last year or the year before, the busing, my kid's late 45 minutes, it's terrible. Why are they doing this? Has that been corrected? It was the busing situation a better problem now, or a less of a problem, I should say?
So the busing situation is a situation. Mm-hmm. It has been a situation, regardless of the III initiative. Okay. Yes, there is more of a requirement for busing, or transportation has been one of the offshoot issues that has come about as a result of implementing this integration initiative. And so that is something that the district has to solve for. Just whether you had integration or not, our transportation is not working the best way possible. The bus routes are long, kids are not getting picked up on time, regardless of which school they're going to. Mm-hmm. So that is something we really do have to solve for. And I know the superintendent has pivoted quickly this last week in terms of trying to solve for all the issues that came up about in the first 2 weeks of school. So that's good to see. But transportation is not, the issues with transportation are not just a result of implementing the III initiative. For example, the district got rid of our own fleet of buses many years ago, and we have then had to rely on third-party vendors to provide transportation. There are only a small pool, I think about 9 or 10 vendors that provide transportation in our area. 7 of those vendors don't have GPS tracking, so we're left with choosing from 2 vendors. And so, those are the issues around busing that are, have to be solved for.
Okay, yeah. Ian?
I just wanted to say too, because again, my children have not been in elementary school for many years, but my children went to Seth Boyden when Seth Boyden was an opt-in school. Mm-hmm. For one of my children, they did take the bus every day. To the bus companies' credit, there are different routes every single year. Mm-hmm. There are different children on these buses every single year, and it does take some time for people to get it right. And so it's almost 20 years that we've had an issue with children who take buses to school. Oftentimes will be late,
especially the first few weeks as they kind of...
Right. So it's not, because of the intentional integration initiative. It's just something I think that's inherent in children taking transportation to school, right? And the people who work for the transportation companies having to get used to these new routes, to these new kids on the bus. It's always going to be like a period of adjustment.
I do have to give a little credit to Superintendent Bing, because when we were at the South Orange community event, we had a moment at the end to be able to talk to him. Poor guy. He was there was a line of people just waiting to talk to him. And I asked him, I said, "So how was your bus ride?" And he was like, "Actually, it was pretty great. The kids are really happy. They're having fun." Now, this does not negate the length of time and being late, but it is, I feel like it gave a moment of, I don't want to say the kids are okay, but he was able to see that there are human beings on these buses. We have to prioritize this. They are doing the best they can to enjoy the moment that they have on the bus to get to school, but it is disruptive. And the emails that he sent out with very specific bullet points of these are the things we're tackling, this is what we're doing. And then he also has a survey. Please fill it out. If you are still struggling with the transportation system, please fill it out. Fill it out multiple times. Why not? It's an opportunity to use your voice and tell the district. If we don't talk to the district, how are they going to know? And obviously, this is a big issue. So a lot of people are talking to the district. I also have to say with the Seth Boyden, my kid is in Seth Boyden. And I'm partaking in the PTA, and I posed a question in our Facebook group very gently, because it is a pain point, a really big one. And it's people are trying to get to work too. But I don't want to belabor the point. The point is the positive side of it is that when I posted this question, I said, how's everybody doing? You know, I've been watching the emails because we don't ride the bus this year. We did last year. I've been watching the emails. I've been watching all the posts. Like, how's everybody doing at Boyden? And every color bus replied with a very constructive, this is what's going on. This has improved. This has not. Good. But we are hopeful. I'm glad they're doing something about it. Like, it was it just speaks to the fact that I think people just want to be communicated to. Mm-hmm. They just want to feel a part of the conversation, and they want to know that they've been heard. And I think I would like to say maybe it's just COVID, but I also think it's like our ecosystem as two towns is that we can't stop talking to each other. Mm-hmm. We have to get out there. We have to ask the questions. We also need the community to speak to the board, to the district with, I don't want to keep using the word calm, but just if we come to the table aggressive and loud, it makes it harder to really get to the root and have the real discussion. So taking a breath before you just go into attack mode. But I also understand when you go into attack mode, it is coming from a place of pain. Mm-hmm. So, that is seen by Listen, Learn, Lead, and that's why we are actively getting out there. We are going to do our absolute best to make sure that every population, no matter what the background is, no matter what the socioeconomic status, like we're providing caregivers, we're providing babysitters for our coffees so that if that is a pain point for you, you can be there. We have forms that people can fill out so that they can communicate. I mean, this is what we will do when we are elected to the board. Can I say when? Sure. But point being is when we're on the board, I know. Right. When we're on the board, like these are the kind of things that we will guide for the superintendent. We're obviously not going to take these actions, but this is the kind of guidance. I think that people need to feel empowered that doing more is not just exhausting. Doing more will actually give you the results you're looking for.
Now, there's 3 seats that are opening up. 3 incumbents are not running again for office. So you have there's another slate: Kaplan, Donahue, and Rishi. What's the biggest difference between your slate and the one they're running? Is there something that stands out in your mind that you're like, what are they doing? What are they thinking?
Well, I've gotten the chance to meet them briefly. And I don't want to say anything negative about them.
But they're opponents right now. Yeah, that's all's fair in love and war.
But and I'll note, it's a non-zero chance that 1 or 2 of us win and 1 or 2 of them win, and we're colleagues, right? But I think in terms of what distinguishes the slates, I think one is the background of our candidates. Meredith and I both have education backgrounds. Malini talked about her budget and finance background. I think that's really important. And in
a mission-driven organization, right? Too, which is very important.
And working with public entities,
right?
Absolutely. So I think that experience is really helpful. We've committed, and Meredith was just talking about this, to listening to as many people, as many different groups as we can in an affirmative fashion. And another thing, we're committed to working with everybody else on the board and with the administration. One thing that I think, Lee, your question sort of gets at is everyone on the board right now is in their first term. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be true next year. Right. So we have a very new board. We have a new superintendent, new business office, new special services head. So we need to build some stability, and that starts with good governance and people working together. So that's something we're really focused on.
Lee's probably going to make fun of me for this, right? But so, my work, most of my work is as a mediator, right? And I always tell people as a mediator, I think the greatest gift that you can give anybody is to let them know that they've been heard, right? And so what the two of you are saying, and you two as well, is that, you want people to be heard. You want to give them the opportunity to speak. You want them to give the opportunity to know that somebody is listening to them. That, I think, is a great way to go through life. So good for you.
And if I can just add one more thing, my kids are in Columbia High School, and I've been in this district since 2012, since my kids were, preschool and 10 months old. So I'm the only candidate that has the perspective of everything that has happened in this district between the changes in the superintendents, all the tumultuousness with COVID and post-COVID. And so I have that sort of historic perspective. And also just a respect for what teachers do on a daily basis. I've seen it in action for the last 13 years. And so I think I bring that unique voice as well. So I think that's makes us different.
Right. Okay. Good point that Paul brought up. Just for those who are maybe it's your first rodeo here in SOMA, so you can vote for 3 of the candidates, 2 of them, 1 of them, though they're running together as a team, as a slate. That's still it's a separate individual vote. But
and I think it's important to tell people too in Maplewood and South Orange, this could potentially be the most important vote that you have this year. Of course, we're voting for governor. As the chair of the Democratic Party, I'm going to tell you that's a very important vote as well. But your school board vote is very, very important. As Malini said earlier on, about being at the fiscal cliff, right? It's a very, very important time to get thoughtful, reasonable, and intelligent people on the board. And you're paying attention to what's going on in this election cycle becomes that much more important as a result.
Right. So what was it, 60, 65, 70% of your taxes
60% of your taxes
go to the school board, right?
So
that's actually, that's where most of your money is going. It's going to this. So this is an important vote for you. And we have 3 outstanding candidates sitting here with us today, Ian. So we're very excited about
lucky.
that.
Lucky as podcast hosts to have you guys.
That's right. Yes,
Well,
we really do appreciate you guys coming in. This is an exciting time. So what are your thoughts on Bing? Now, this is his 2nd year or 3rd year, Superintendent Bing. He came in.
He goes with the hard-hitting questions.
Right. He's. I hear good things. We had some turbulence before he came in, and I just sense when people don't seem to be that angry anymore. But have you met him? What are your thoughts on him?
I have actually. So I was not privileged, but I had a moment after kind of towards the end of the Early Childhood Advisory Council. We had 4 meetings over the course of the year, and every single meeting we kind of talked about, what do we need? How do we engage parents more? And I helped put all the satellite locations basically on one thread of let's talk to each other. We're all in 10 different buildings. We should feel like we're part of the district. And all the pain points were very similar. And I wasn't surprised about that. And I thought, I wonder if because we're so spread out and it's such a quick time over 2 years, some won, maybe people 0 because they didn't get into the lottery. It's such a quick time. I want to put together a document, information of can we share this with someone? And at the time I was I don't really know where to go with this except for the ECAC. And they recommended go to the board. And I said, oh, okay. And so I went to the board, I emailed the board, and I got a lot of really wonderful responses. And then I got the opportunity to actually present this document to Bing, Superintendent Bing. Yeah. And I was very I can get a little fangirl with some people because I think what he does is a lot. That job is impossible. It really is impossible. You are responsible for so much and you are accountable for so much. And I think he is taking our district in stride and doing the best he absolutely can to move the ball quickly forward, but he does need a board that will also make sure, okay, let's pause for a second. Are we sure? Does this make sense for everyone? Is this inclusive of everyone? Are we really listening along the way? I don't think he doesn't do a good job of that, but that's where we can help him. That's where we can guide him, and that's where he can lean on us as a support system to be use the 9 of us to go out there and gather extra information because your job is to be a busy superintendent. Your job is to go to all the different buildings. Your job is to touch base with all your administrators. That's your job. You focus on that. Why doesn't the board be more involved in the community?
And if I can just add, having moved to Maplewood when I think Superintendent Ramos was the superintendent and then we had Taylor, I would say a couple of things from a parental standpoint. The first thing is that communication seems to be improved, not just the level of communication, but what is being communicated, how succinctly it's being communicated, how easy is it to access the right information at the right points in time. I looked at the budget presentations and, they're good. We could improve it. There are things we could do a little bit differently, but they're good when you go back, in history. So I think as to Meredith's point, he's stabilized the district operations and the business unit, but, he's still new. The business unit is new. And so, our job is to make sure that we continue, as if we are elected, to hold the district and superintendent being accountable for the goals that the district sets out and to make those goals achievable within the budget that's available.
Excellent. Paul, question for you now. You ran last year, and then you managed Jane Collins Colding's campaign for township committee, right?
That's right.
I believe.
I did, yeah.
Right, and
he still is.
And he still is. That's right. She's actually running in November. She's on the. But there's no Republican running against her, right? So,
She's running unopposed.
Unopposed.
This year,
Okay,
yes.
so.
But she and Paul are not taking anything for granted.
Right, but
Yes.
Paul was like, I could step away a little bit and get back into my campaign since I think it's gonna be smooth sailing for you. So my question to you, Paul, is you're running again. What do you like better? Do you like running, or do you like running somebody, helping someone else run? What's more fun?
I would say running somebody else's campaign is more fun.
Okay, right.
And I'm trying to take sabbatical from Jane's campaign, but she won't let me. So I'm still on the payroll. Ask me how much money I make doing it.
Right. Well, that's Ian here with me.
Campaign managers don't make a lot of money.
I'm making $0 doing that. But Jane's a
You
wonderful
might get
person.
a Visa gift card at the end.
All right.
Yeah. That works out. And a free seat at township committee meetings, right?
There you go.
Your
right.
front row seats.
You get
all
that
yours,
front row
right?
pew.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I know.
That's right.
But I think Jane's wonderful. I think she's going to be really great on the township committee. I have been involved in a couple of different campaigns. And I think, politics is really important. We saw this with the last election. Elections matter.
Yep.
Ian talked about Board of Ed election. That really matters. This governor's election is absolutely crucial. And I urge everybody, whether you vote for us for Board of Ed or not, please, please, please vote for governor. It's such an important race. But
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. Am I allowed to say who you should vote for?
You can.
I would say vote for Mikey Sherrill.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think that's
I would
shocking.
too.
I think
Yes,
everybody in this room is
She's got my
probably.
vote.
Yeah.
and us. Yeah, vote for us too.
Right, right.
Very good.
yes,
Very good. Good point.
Thank you, Malini.
Yes.
Very
All
good.
those
That's a
bubbles are
smart
already
politician.
decided. Yeah.
But
1F, 2F, and 3F.
There we go. Very good.
But one thing I will say about Paul, again, to me, when somebody runs for office, anybody who runs for office, I always salute because you're saying I want to improve my community, I want to be a part of it, and
you're putting yourself on the line.
And you're putting yourself on the line. So when you run once and you lose, and you're like me, and you're like, I'm not gonna do that again. That was not really in my wheelhouse. But in your case, you didn't get the results you wanted, but you came back a second time. And you're like, this is the guy that wants this. This is a guy that really wants to be involved. He's willing to he's willing to come back and say, I'll do that again. And I salute you for that. I really do.
Well, I'll tell you, campaigning, knocking on doors, talking to people is a really a life-changing experience. And I encourage anybody, whether you're comfortable being the person on the ballot or not, go knock on doors for a candidate that you care about. You will hear the most incredible stories from people. You'll hear wonderful things. You'll hear gut-wrenching things.
Yeah.
And part of why I'm running is, the district has a frustratingly large amount of potential.
Yeah.
There's so much we can do. We have such great teachers. We have incredible students, and yet we can do so much better, right? And so that's really what motivates me. Campaigning is not easy, but I think you do it to try to increase the opportunities for students because they really deserve it.
Well, and I'm going to say to your point, Paul, so Lee has talked about often on the podcast when he did run for the township committee, right? And we all know Lee. He's a funny guy. He's entertaining. But he talked about the fact when he was campaigning and he was going door to door that was a life-changing experience for you.
I had met a woman, and again, I wasn't taking it so seriously. Wasn't sure I was going to win, but I figured, to tell you the truth, I was so immature. I was like, I'm just going to run to be popular, and I'll have all sorts of friends. Everyone will like me, and the Village Green will write about me. Kind of. But I knocked on a woman's door, and she invited me in, and she started to cry, and she said that she was losing her house. The mortgage, she was in trouble. She was underwater, and she's struggling just to keep her kids in the district so that they could graduate with their friends. You know, she had 2 kids in high school. So if I could just get to that, then, you know, can you help me? I didn't really know what I can do to help her, but she said, if I vote for you, do you promise me you'll try? You know, and I left there and I said, she's going to vote for me. I have to try. And that was, you know, I'm sure that you guys are experiencing that too. You know, you're experiencing people that are saying, please, what can you do? And it is life-changing.
I think that's something like even before this, the whole concept of campaigning, I wrapped it around my head. That listen, learn, lead. We mulled over a lot of different words, and we just kept coming back to that one because it just felt not ideological. It felt like human and exactly what we want our kids to be doing when they now, but also when they become adults. And so what is the action of that? You can't just say, I'm going to listen. You can't just say, I'm going to learn. And you can't just say, you're going to lead. So what are the actions of that? Listening. We're hosting a ton of coffees. If you're interested, we are like probably never going to sleep again, but we want to hear everybody's voices.
November 6th.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. Oh, I just clued in on that one. But anyways, so, you know, the learning part is like digesting all that information so that we can say, okay, how do we actually put this in action? And some of the things we can't solve everything. And I think it's unrealistic to also think that the district can solve everything. We shouldn't put that much pressure on the district, but we can hold them accountable to the things that a public school is required legally to do. And then when there are gaps, if the district really can't do it, and that has to be a reality that we all digest, then what can we do about it? And that's where this community, like Paul said, is so special. There are so many entities that just are already pumping the schools with that support that a public school budget can't cover. And that's what you do. Like, I think that at the most base level, the more that you can support your community, the more that you give, the better everything gets.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, not as if they didn't already learn so much about you guys during this podcast, where can they learn more? I know you guys have a website, and where can they get some information about you? Facebook groups?
Yeah, tell us about your stuff and where people can find out about the coffees as well.
And the coffees, yep.
Totally. So we have all the typical stuff. We have a Facebook page, so follow us there. We have a website. It's SOMSDBOE 2025. Obviously, we have confidence in ourselves. And then the Instagram is the same. The Facebook is the same. So please follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, go to our website. We do have our vision there, but that's not the end of it. That vision is really important. That's where we kind of started as the three of us. So we're going to be posting blog posts as we do all these coffees so that we can share what we're learning and then how we're kind of shaping further into our vision. You're never really done learning, and that's word number 2. So the booking a coffee will be on the website. If you go to, I believe it's Meet Us. Meet Us. If you go to Meet Us, there's a bunch of links where you can get a lawn sign, you can donate. We really do need donations if you can help us get the word out. Making sure that everybody is educated about who the candidates are and what they stand for and what they're going to bring to the board. That's, that is your duty. So help us get the word out about us. And yeah, you can also just reach out to us directly. We're here.
So that website is SOMSDBOE2025.com.
Correct.
Okay, pretty cool. And you could also reach you at SOMSDBOE2025@gmail.com.
Yep.
So you guys, what's the next few weeks look like for you? I guess there's not going to be any putting your feet up. There's be coffees, which,
November 6th.
November 6th, you're going to be knocking on doors. What's the life look like?
I was going to say, Meredith, do you want to talk about the Power of One event that we're doing? Because I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah. So my friend Leah, she and I actually met when our littles were, we moved in 2021 and we connected over like theater conversations. And she is part of a group called Power of One with Jill Sockwell. And they are single parents, and so we have reached out to them to say, would you like to talk to us? Would you like to tell us what you're going through and what we can, help out with if we can? And that is our coffee on Monday. If you are interested, I don't want to share her address, but if you are interested, just contact us in any way. But the focus, I will say, what we're trying to be really clear about is for each coffee, we're trying to have some sort of goal. So the goal with this one is to listen to single parents. You can attend, of course, but our focus is really going to be on that population because I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it seems like that's a population that hasn't really had a moment to speak.
Okay. So, Ian, anything you want to say before we?
No, I'm thrilled that you guys have been here. I already knew Paul, but it's been great to get to know both of you now as well. Yep. And we wish you the best of luck. We really thank you for being on the podcast with us.
Thank you.
SOMA Board of Ed is in good hands. That is for
absolutely.
Certain. So, again, that's Paul Stephan, Malini, Nayar, Meredith, Higgins. November 6th?
November 5th is the
4th.
November.
Wait,
did I say
hold
5th?
You've been
It's
saying the
November
6th.
5th.
Let's look up election day.
You know what? The 6th is when they can put their feet up, is what I've been saying. Yes. Yeah.
So the election day is November.
November.
I thought it was 4th.
It's Tuesday, November 4th, everybody. Tuesday, November 4th. Nayar, Stephan, Higgins. Bubbles 1F, 2F, 3F.
So anyway, we're doing this podcast late during the evening, everybody.
In my other job, I really should have this right.
But this is a late evening podcast because everybody had to work, so we're a little tired and we want to get this out to
That's
you.
it, I'm exhausted.
That's right. So, but these, seriously, guys, these are three wonderful people. The community members, neighbors, friends.
Get to know them more.
Get to know them more. And when they knock on your door, invite them in for coffee, right?
And be nice to them.
As if they haven't already had enough coffee.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So all right. So, guys, thank you so much. And
thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Until we meet again, the Malini Show says good night.
Good night.